24 floors up in some hotel room, feeling so low, thinking of jumping soon. I need some space to run around. I'll always have the underground. I built my route despite the cost. I'm not looking to be found. No, no, not at all. You don't wanna die tonight. Take one more breath to clear your mind. Every moment's relevant, bittersweet, delicate. Tomorrow may not come again. With my eyes closed, this feels like home. Adrift in my own head, and all I really know is whatever this is doesn't get easier. So take it slow, just take it slow. I look up and see the stars, look down at speeding cars, think of my family, how they'll remember me. With eyes closed I see your face, breathe deep and hesitate. I hear the words you say, if you were here with me. I'm unaware of where I'm going, or if I'm going anywhere at all, but I know I'll take the leap if it's worth the fall. So long as the blood keeps flowing, I'll set a sail and swim across. I'm not looking to be found, just want to feel unlost. Oh, 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 if this is all there is. Oh, the world is ours before a flash, and you are not allowed to be anybody else. Control what you can control and what you can't, and always remember how lucky you are to have yourself. You don't wanna die tonight. Take one more breath to clear your mind. Every moment's relevant, bittersweet, delicate. Tomorrow may not come again. Tonight is all there is. Oh, if this is all there is. I'm not looking to be found, just want to feel unlost. When your day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough of this life, hang on. Don't let yourself go, 'cause everybody cries and everybody hurts sometimes. Sometimes everything is wrong. Now it's time to sing along when your day is night alone. If you feel like letting go, if you think you've had too much of this life, hang on, 'cause everybody hurts. Take comfort in your friends. Everybody hurts sometimes. Sometimes.
Hello, I'm Dr. Young. Good morning, Mr. Sharp.
No, clearly it's no such thing. How do you do?
Please sit down. I suppose you know why you're here.
Well, apparently, my job depends on my meeting with you in order to determine my fitness to continue in the extremely sensitive position of cable television interviewer. You want to know if I can press on with the same high level of delicacy and insight without mucking it up on air. Please proceed. I've never had my head shrunken before.
I'm a clinical psychologist, Mr. Sharp, and your employer is concerned about you. In fairness, I will be reporting my conclusions, but the content of our discussion is strictly confidential. I'm here to help, if I can.
Go on.
I'd like to begin, Martin, by talking about New Year's Eve. May I call you Martin?
Please don't.
Oh, I see. Very well, Mr. Sharp. Can you tell me what brought you to the rooftop in the first place? To a place where you might wish to do yourself harm.
Can I explain why I wanted to jump off the top of a tower block? Well, of course I can. I'm not a bloody idiot. It was a logical decision. It wasn't even terribly agonized. Put it this way. Say you were, say you were a bank manager and you were offered the job of managing a bank in Sydney. Well, even though it's a pretty straightforward decision, you'd still have to think a bit, wouldn't you? You'd at least have to work out whether you could leave your friends behind, whether you could uproot your wife and kids. You might even draw up a list of pros and cons. Cons: aged parents, golf club. Pros: More money, better quality of life, see, sunshine. It's no contest, is it? Oh, the golf club, oh, give me a break. Obviously, your aged parents give you pause for thought, but that's all it is, a pause, and a brief one at that, too. You would be on the phone to your travel agents within 10 minutes. Well, that was me. There simply weren't enough regrets and lots of reasons to jump. Well, the only thing on my cons list were the kids, but I couldn't imagine Cindy ever letting me see them again anyway. I haven't got any aged parents, and I don't play golf. Suicide was my Sydney.
I told him I was going to a New Year's Eve party. I told him in October. I don't know whether people send out invitations to New Year's Eve parties in October or not. Probably not. Stupid, really. He doesn't understand. I'm sure he doesn't. They tell me to keep talking to him, but you can see that nothing gets in. The moment I told him, well, I wanted to go straight to confession. Well, I'd lied, hadn't I? I'd lied to my own son. It was just a silly, tiny lie. I told him months in advance I was going to a party I'd made up. I told him it was Bridget's party, Bridget from church. But confession wasn't possible because I knew that I would have to repeat the sin, the lie, over and over as the year came to an end. Not only to Mattie, but to the people at the nursing home. And, well, there isn't anybody else, really.
I was at a party downstairs in the squat. It was a shit party, full of all these ancient crusties sitting on the floor, drinking cider, smoking huge spliffs, and listening to weirdo, spaced out reggae. At midnight, one of them clapped sarcastically, and that was it. Happy New Year to you too. You could have turned up to that party as the happiest person in London and you still would have wanted to jump off the roof by 12:05. And I wasn't the happiest person in London, obviously. I only went because someone at the college told me Chaz would be there, but he wasn't. I tried his mobile for the zillionth time, but it wasn't on. He called me a stalker. But I don't think you can call it stalking when it's just phone calls and letters and emails and knocking on the door. And I only turned up at his work twice. And anyway, I was owed an explanation.
I've looked up suicide inquests on the internet, and nearly every single time the coroner says he took his own life as the balance of his mind was disturbed. And then you read the story about the poor bastard. His wife was sleeping with his best friend. He'd lost his job. His daughter had been killed in a road accident. Hello, Mr. Coroner. Anyone at home? I'm sorry, but there's no disturbed mental balance here, my friend. I'd say he got it just about right. Bad thing upon bad thing, until you can't take any more, and then it's off to the nearest multi-story car park in the family hatchback with a length of rubber tubing. Not once did I read a newspaper report that convinced me that the deceased was off the old trolley. The Manchester United forward, who was engaged to Miss Sweden and had recently won an Oscar, was found hanging from a beam in his stables by a member of his staff. Well, then one could safely come to the conclusion that the old balance was indeed wonky. Surely my coroner's inquest should read, he took his own life after sober and careful contemplation of the fucking shambles it had become.
If you spend day and night looking after a sick child like mine, there's very little room for sin. And I went from that to sinning so terribly that I couldn't even come to confession because I was going to commit the biggest sin of all. And why is it the biggest sin of all? All your life, you're told that you're going to this marvelous place when you pass on. And the one thing that you can do to get there a bit quicker is something that stops you from getting there at all. Well, I can see that it's a kind of queue jumping, but if someone jumps the queue at the post office, people tut or say, "Excuse me, I was here first." They don't say, "You'll be consumed by hellfire for all eternity." That would be a bit strong.
Yeah, even though I could see straight away that Chaz wasn't at this party, I stayed for a while. I was feeling sorry for myself. Where else was I going to go? I mean, how can you be 18 and not have anywhere to go on New Year's Eve? I make friends easily enough, but then I piss them off. I'm not really sure why or how. And so people and parties disappear. I pissed Jen off. I'm sure of that. She disappeared, like everyone else.
It was on my mind New Year's Eve, of course it was. Every now and again I'd imagine what I'd wear, how much I'd drink. It was as if I'd actually been, like you come to believe a story in a book. Even in my imagination there, I couldn't see myself talking to anyone at the party. I was always quite happy to leave it.
Oh, yes, I know you would say you could have helped. But that's the trouble, isn't it? No one's willing to face their responsibilities. It's always someone else's fault. Boo-hoo. Well, I happen to believe that what went on with Mummy and Daddy had nothing to do with me screwing a 15-year-old. I would have slept with her, regardless of whether I'd been breastfed or not. And it was time to face up to what I had done. And what I'd done is I'd pissed my life away, in the same way that you can piss money away. I'd had a life full of kids and wives and jobs and all the usual stuff, and then I somehow managed to mislay it. No. You see, that's not right. I knew where my life was. I hadn't mislaid it at all. I'd spent it. I'd spent my kids and my job and my wife on teenage girls and nightclubs. Although those things all come at a price, and I'd happily paid it. And suddenly, my life wasn't there anymore. What would I be leaving behind? All the indications of a life, certainly, but none of the content. I didn't even feel sad, particularly. I just felt very stupid and very angry. And I'm able to tell you this now because that night turned into as much of a mess as anything else. I couldn't even jump off a tower block without even fucking it up.
On New Year's Eve, the nursing home sent the ambulance around for him. You had to pay extra for that, but I didn't mind. How could I? In the end, Matty was going to cost them a lot more than they were costing me. I was only paying for one night, and they were going to pay for the rest of his life. These two fellas, they wheeled him out. Well, I couldn't cry, because then they would know that something was wrong. I just kissed him on the top of his head and told him to be good at the home. I held it all in until I'd seen them leave. And then I wept and wept. He'd ruined my life, but he was still my son, and I was never going to see him again. I couldn't even say goodbye properly. I did have 1 or 2 glasses of sherry because I knew that it would be cold out. I walked and waited at the bus stop for 10 minutes, but then I decided to continue walking. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have dreamed of walking all the way late at night, especially when the streets are full of drunks. But what did it matter now? Knowing that you want to die makes you less scared. No one attacked me. A couple of people wished me Happy New Year, but that was about all. There isn't so much to be afraid of out there. I can remember thinking it was a funny time to find that out on the last night of my life.
2 years ago, Martin Sharp would not have found himself sitting on a ledge in the middle of the night, looking 200 feet down at the concrete walkway and wondering whether he'd hear his bones shattering into tiny pieces. But 2 years ago, I still had my job. I still had a wife. I hadn't slept with a 15-year-old. I hadn't been to prison. I hadn't had to talk to my young daughters about a front-page tabloid article headlined with the word sleaze bag and illustrated with a picture of me lying on the pavement outside a well-known night spot. So, wanting to kill myself was an appropriate and reasonable response to a series of unfortunate events that had rendered life unlivable.
I'd never been to Topper's house before. I didn't even know for sure that you could get on the roof anymore, but the door was open and I just walked up the stairs. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that you couldn't just jump off whenever you felt like it. They'd put up these barbed wires. Well, that's when I began to panic. I'm not as young as I was. I couldn't see how I was going to get over the top of it all, and it had to be that night because of Matty being in the home and everything. And then I saw Martin. Right over the other side of the roof, I could see that he'd done things properly. He'd brought a little stepladder and some wire cutters, and he'd managed to climb over the top like that. And he was just sitting there, dangling his feet, looking down, taking nips out of a little hip flask and thinking. Well, I waited. Well, in the end, I couldn't wait anymore. I knew it was his stepladder, but I needed it. It wasn't going to be much use to him. Excuse me, going to be long?
Before I got to the squat, I never had any intention of going up to the roof. Honestly, I'd forgotten the whole Topper's house thing until I started speaking to this guy. I think he fancied me, which isn't really saying much, considering I was about the only female under 30 who could still stand up.
I'm called Bong because I always smoke my weed out of a bong.
I know. But the 10 minutes I spent talking to Bong made history. Well, I mean, not like historical history, like 55 BC or 1939, but who knows what would have happened if Bong hadn't fancied me, because before he started chatting me up, I was just about to go home. And well, everything would have been different.
You're not thinking of going up on the roof, are you? Because I can see the pain and desperation in your eyes.
Looking back on it, I'm pretty sure what he could see in my eyes was about 7 Bacardi Breezers and 2 cans of special brew. But I just went, oh, really?
Yeah. See, I've been put here on suicide watch to look out for people who've only come here because they want to go upstairs.
Why? What happens upstairs?
You're joking, aren't you? This is Topper's house, man. This is where people go to kill themselves.
And I would have never thought of it if he hadn't said that. Everything suddenly made sense because even though I'd been about to go home, I couldn't imagine what I'd do when I got there. And I couldn't imagine waking up in the morning. I wanted Chaz and he didn't want me. And suddenly I realized that easily the best thing to do was to make my life as short as I possibly could. I almost laughed. It was so neat. I wanted to make my life short and I was at a party in Topper's house. And the coincidence was too much. It was like a message from God. Okay, it was disappointing that all God had to say to me was jump off a roof, but I didn't blame him. I could feel the weight of everything then. The weight of loneliness, of everything that had gone wrong. I felt heroic going up those last few flights to the top of the building, dragging that weight along with me. I felt so heavy, I knew I'd hit the street in no time.
Are you trying to kill me, you stupid cow?
I never. Say, I know you.
People come up to me in restaurants and shops all over Britain and they say, I know you. And they invariably mean precisely the opposite. They mean, I don't know you, but I've seen you on the telly. Rise and shine with Penny and Martin. And then they want an autograph or a chat about what Penny Chambers is really like in real life. Oh, but that night it all seemed a bit beside the point.
Yeah, from the television.
For Christ's sake, well, I was just about to kill myself. Oh, but no, never mind. There's always time for an autograph. Have you got a pen and a bit of paper? To whom should I sign it?
To Maureen.
What are you doing up here anyway?
I was going to jump too. I wanted to borrow your ladder.
And that's what everything comes down to. Ladders. Well, not ladders, literally. The Middle East peace process doesn't come down to ladders. But one thing I know from interviewing people on the show is that you can reduce the most enormous topics down to the tiniest parts. I've heard a hostage describe how he survived because one of his captors was fascinated by the London Zoo family discount card he kept in his wallet. You want to talk about the big things, but it's the ladders and the London Zoo cards that give you the footholds. Without them, you wouldn't know where to start. Be my guest.
I'll wait until... I'll just wait.
So you're going to just stand there and watch?
No, of course not. You'll be wanting to do it on your own, I'd imagine.
You'd imagine, right.
Yes, I'll just go over there.
Yes. Well, I'll give you a shout on the way down, huh? Oh, come, that wasn't a bad gag in the circumstances.
I suppose I'm not in the mood, Mr. Sharp.
I can't concentrate. The mood's gone. You're probably thinking, how much concentration does a man need to throw himself off the top of a high building? Well, you'd be surprised. Before Maureen arrived, I was entirely focused with a horrible clarity on the impossibility of attempting to resume life down on the ground. It would have been easy to push myself off. But the conversation with her pulled me back into the world, into the cold, and the wind, and the noise, and the thumping bass below. I couldn't get the mood back. It's as if one of the kids had woken up just as Cindy and I were starting to make love. I hadn't changed my mind, and I knew that I'd have to do it sometime. It's just that I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it in the next 5 minutes. Do you want to swap places and see how you get on?
I want to be on my own too.
But the ledge felt safe. There was no humiliation and shame there. I'm not sure that I want to climb back over to the other side. You'll have to put up with me being here.
Well, why can't you shove around to the other side of the roof?
Well, why can't you? It's my ladder.
Well, you're not much of a gentleman.
Well, no, I'm fucking not. That's one of the reasons I'm up here, in fact. Don't you read the papers?
I look at the local one sometimes.
So, what do you know about me?
You used to be on TV.
That's it.
I think so. You like mushrooms. I know that.
Mushrooms.
Yes, I remember. There was one of those chef fellows in the studio, and he gave you something to taste. And you said, I love mushrooms. I could eat them all day.
Then that's all you can dredge up.
Yes.
So why do you think I want to kill myself?
I've no idea.
Pissing me around.
Would you mind watching your language? I find it offensive.
I'm sorry. I couldn't believe I'd found someone who didn't know. Before I went to prison, I used to wake up in the morning and the tabloid scum were waiting outside the front door. It seemed impossible that there was anyone in Britain uninterested in what I had done. I lived in a world where it was the only thing that seemed to matter. Right, well, you've got 20 minutes, and then I want my spot back. And I was just about to let her jump in peace.
Out of the way, losers!
No, you can't.
Get off me! How come you two are allowed to kill yourselves and I'm not?
You're too young. We've fucked our lives up. You haven't yet.
How do you know that?
No one's fucked up their lives at your age.
What if I've killed about 10 people, including, let's say, my parents?
Well, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Well, then you got away with it, haven't you? I'd get on a plane to Brazil if I were you.
What if I want to pay for what I've done with my life?
Oh, shut up. Come and help me.
What do you want me to do?
Sit on her.
Just let me go, you old bastard pervert! You're getting a thrill out of this, aren't you?
Well, obviously that stung a bit, given recent events.
Now what?
Oh, yes, I'm a veteran of countless similar situations. I don't bloody know. Why it didn't occur to any of us that a well-known suicide spot would be like Piccadilly Circus on New Year's Eve, I have no idea. But we were in the process of turning a solemn and private moment into a farce with a cast of thousands.
Any of you guys order pizza?
Well, how would we have ordered pizzas on the roof of Topper's house?
On a cell?
What's a cell?
Okay, a mobile, whatever.
Oh, fair play to you. We could have done that. What's an American doing delivering pizzas?
What are you doing sitting on her?
They're sitting on me because this isn't a free country. You can't do what you want to.
What did you want to do?
He was going to jump.
So were you.
You were all gonna jump? Let her go. Hey, you fucking listening to me?
Would you please watch your language? We weren't all brought up in a pigsty.
I think she's okay now, Maureen.
As if he was deciding to stand up on his own accord, not because the American man might punch him.
You're the breakfast TV bloke. The one who slept with the 15-year-old. Martin Sharp! Fuck! Martin Sharp was sitting on me! You old pervert.
Well, I didn't have any clue about any 15-year-old. I don't look at that sort of newspaper. Unless I'm at the hairdresser's or someone's left one on the bus.
I've told a couple people about that night. And the weird thing is, they get the suicide part, but then they don't get the pizza part. Most people, even if it's hidden deep down inside somewhere, can remember a time in their lives when they thought about whether they really wanted to wake up the next day. Wanting to die seems like it might be a part of being alive. But then they want to know what I was doing delivering pizzas. People jump to the conclusion that anyone driving around North London on a shitty little moped on New Year's Eve for the minimum wage is clearly a loser. So I could say I was delivering pizzas because English girls suck. I was doing the only work I could find.
Oi, give us some pizza then. What flavors have you got?
Here, help yourselves. See, the trouble with my generation is that making something or even just doing something isn't good enough for us. We have to be something. If Taylor Swift or some American Idol jerk can be something, then why can't I? Okay, so my band. We were called Big Yellow, and we put on the best live shows you could ever see in a bar. We made 2 albums, which a lot of critics and not many real people liked, but having talent is never enough to make us happy, is it? Oscar Wilde once said, "One's real life is so often the life that one does not lead." Well, fucking right on, Oscar. My real life was full of headlining shows at Madison Square Garden and Platinum Records, and that wasn't the life I was leading. Which is maybe why after the band got fucked up and I was at the end of the line with my music, I thought I could throw it away. It felt like I'd been walking down a dark, airless tunnel. There was a wall of rock in front of me, and the only tools I had were my fingernails. Plus, I broke up with my girl, Lizzie, who was the only reason I was in the country in the first place. Anyway, I'd gotten sick of it. My nails were worn away and my fingers were shredded. With the band gone, the only room I had left for self-expression was in checking out of my unreal life. I was gonna fly off that fucking roof like Superman. So it was real shocking to discover that the others were about to take the Vincent van Gogh route out of this world. And yeah, thank you. I know Van Gogh didn't jump off the top of a North London apartment building.
Now what?
We eat our pizza.
Yeah, then?
Just give it half an hour, okay? Then we'll see where we're at. I don't know where that came from. Why half an hour? What was supposed to happen then? Everyone needs a little time out. Looks to me like things were getting pretty undignified up here. 30 minutes? Is that agreed?
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't add up. Suicide wasn't invented for people like them. It was invented for people who were too sensitive to live, like Virginia Woolf and Kurt Cobain, me. Sensitive people find it harder to stick around. Suicide was supposed to be cool. So, great. Pizza. A small, good thing on a night like this. Raymond Carver, as you probably know, but it was wasted on these guys.
This pizza is inedible and quite possibly poisonous.
I'm not fucking sitting here for fucking half an hour looking at your fucking miserable faces. Sorry, Maureen.
That's just what you've just this minute agreed to do.
So what?
It was my own stupid fault. New Year's Eve's a night for sentimental losers. Of course, there'd be a low-rent crowd up there. It was just that when I got the order to deliver the pizzas to the squat and topper's house, the opportunity seemed too good to turn down. My plan was to wander to the top, take a look around to gather my bearings, go back down to deliver the pizzas, and then do it. Suddenly, there I was with 3 potential suicides munching the pizzas I was supposed to deliver. None of them looked like they were going to add much to the sum total of human achievement.
So, what's the point of agreeing to do something and then not doing it?
No point. But there's no point in anything, though, is there? That's why we're up here.
See, now this is a pretty interesting philosophical argument. You're saying as long as we're on the rooftop, we're all anarchists. No agreements are binding, no rules apply. To live outside the law, you must be honest.
What the fucking hell does that mean?
You know, I never really known what the fuck it means, to tell you the truth. Bob Dylan said it.
Then shut up then, Yankee boy.
And I did. There were approximately 28 minutes of our timeout remaining.
A long time ago, when I was about 8 or 9, I saw this program on the telly about the history of the Beatles. Jen liked the Beatles, so she was the one who made me watch it, but I didn't mind. Anyway, when Ringo joined, you sort of felt this little shiver, because that was it then. That was the 4 of them, and they were ready to go on and become the most famous group in history. Well, that's how I felt when JJ turned up with his pizzas. I could tell we needed JJ, so when he appeared, it just felt right. He wasn't Ringo, though. He was more like Paul. Maureen was Ringo, except she wasn't very funny. And I was George, except I wasn't shy or spiritual. And Martin was John, except he wasn't talented or cool. Thinking about it, maybe we were like another group with 4 people in it. We could talk.
What? Share our pain?
Yeah, just for a laugh. And we'll learn things, won't we, about each other and about ourselves.
Oh, what can one ever learn apart from the times table or who wrote Moby Dick? And yet, just about everyone I've ever interviewed has told me that by doing something or other, recovering from cancer, climbing a mountain, they have learned something about themselves. And I always nod and smile thoughtfully, when really I want to pin them down. What did you learn from the cancer, actually? That you don't like being sick? That you don't want to die? Come on, be specific. Well, I suspect it's something they tell themselves in order to turn the experience into something that might appear valuable, rather than a complete and utter waste of time.
Wanker.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what harm would be done by sharing our experiences.
Well, who's interested in your experiences? Your experience as a delivering pizzas.
Well, your experiences then, not mine.
Oh, you came up here to jump, didn't you?
Were you going to jump at the pizzas? Because someone ordered those.
I was going downstairs to deliver before coming back up again.
Well, we've eaten them now.
Gosh, you just don't seem like the jumping type.
If you guys are the jumping type, then I can't say I'm sorry.
Ooh. Oh, go on. Let's talk. Oh, no need for pain sharing. Just, our names and why we're up here. Because it might be interesting. We might see a way out, sort of thing. I had to admit that I had sort of a plan. My plan was that they would help me find Chaz, and Chaz and I would get back together, and then I'd feel better.
I went first because I hadn't rubbed anyone up the wrong way yet. And also maybe because I was more mysterious. than the others. Martin, everyone seemed to know about from the newspapers, and Jess, God love her. We'd only known her for about half an hour, but you could tell that this was a girl who had problems. My own feelings about JJ, without knowing anything about him, was that he might have been a gay person because he had a beard and spoke American. A lot of Americans are gay people, aren't they? I just presume they were all unhappy and wanted to kill themselves. But me, well, I knew I didn't need to say very much. None of these people would have wanted my life. I doubted whether they'd understand how I'd put up with it for as long as I had. It's always the toilet bit that upsets people. Whenever I need another prescription for my antidepressants, for example, I always mention the toilet bit, the cleaning up that needs doing. It's funny, because it's the bit that I've got used to. What I can't get used to is the idea that my life is finished, pointless, completely without hope or colour. But the mopping up, it doesn't really worry me anymore. But so is what gets the doctor reaching for his pen, though.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Don't change your mind, you'd only regret it.
Some people cope.
Who?
We had a woman on the show whose husband had been in a coma for 25 years.
Oh, and that was her reward, was it? Going on a breakfast TV show?
No, I'm just saying.
What are you just saying?
I'm just saying it can be done.
You're not saying why, though, are you?
Well, maybe she loved him.
What's that to love? He's a vegetable in a coma.
He wouldn't be a vegetable if he wasn't in a coma, would he?
I love my son.
Well, of course you do. We didn't mean to imply otherwise.
In his room, Matty has a poster of a girl called Katniss and a black footballer fellow who played for Arsenal. I chose them for him. I don't really know who Katniss is. I just thought it would be nice for Matty to have an attractive young woman around the place, because he's at that age now. I chose the posters the same as I chose all the other things, the DVDs, the books, the fishing rod. There's a whole unlived teenage life in there. Everything is for pretending, so why not pretend properly? So that's what I did. I made up a son.
Do you want us to kill him for you? I mean, I don't mind. I'll go down there tonight before I kill myself. There's no skin off my nose. And it's not like he's got much to live for, is it? He'd probably thank me for it, poor soul.
Are you a fucking idiot? Look what you've done.
I'm sorry. It's just an idea.
That isn't why I'm crying. I'm crying because the only thing that would make me want to live is for Matty to die. And knowing why I'm crying just makes me want to cry more.
Martin?
Everybody already knows everything about me, so I don't see the point of all this lark.
Oh, come on, man.
It doesn't take long, I find, to be irritated by Yanks. Look, I know you're our friends and everything, but all that cool daddy-o stuff really gets on my wick.
We just want to hear your side of it.
There isn't a my side. I was a bloody idiot, and I'm paying the price.
So you don't want to defend yourself? Because you're among friends here.
Oh. Danielle told me she was 18. She looked 18. 5'9", 36 double D. 15 years and 250 days old, and let me tell you, those 115 days make quite a difference. That's it. That's the good side of the story.
So if she'd been a little older, you wouldn't be up here.
Well, I don't suppose I would, no. Because I wouldn't have broken the law, wouldn't have gone to prison, wouldn't have lost my job, my wife wouldn't have found out.
So you're saying it was just bad luck?
I'd say there was a certain degree of culpability involved.
Just because you've swallowed a fucking dictionary doesn't mean you've done nothing wrong.
You're at your happiest wallowing in the marshland of the obvious. That's what culpability means.
Because some married men wouldn't have shagged her, no matter how old she was. So bad luck's got nothing to do with it.
Oh, for fuck's sake, why do you think I've been dangling my feet over the ledge? I screwed up. I'm not trying to make excuses for myself. I feel so wretched, I want to die.
I should hope so.
Thanks. And thanks for introducing this exercise, too. It's very helpful, very curative.
And you've got kids and all, haven't you?
Oh, I don't know what I owe my daughters anymore. It's the distance that does it, of course. I got farther and farther away, and the girls got smaller and smaller, until they were just tiny dots, and I could no longer see them, literally or metaphorically. You can't make out their faces, can you, when they're just tiny dots? So you don't need to worry about whether they're happy or sad. And so, suicide becomes imaginable in a way that wouldn't be possible if you looked into their eyes every day.
I'm interested in something.
Go on.
Why is it easier to leap into the void than to face up to what you've done?
This is facing up to what I've done.
People are always fucking young girls and leaving their wives and kids. They don't all jump off buildings.
No, but like Jess says, maybe they should.
Really? Jesus, you're tough on yourself. You think anyone who makes a mistake of this kind should die?
Yes, well, not every mistake, no, but maybe this one. It's not just that. It's the humiliation. No, the enjoyment of the humiliation by others. You don't return to the middle class when you've been to prison. You don't go and see the head of daytime TV and tell her you're ready to reclaim your seat behind the rise and shine desk. You don't knock on your friends' doors and tell them you're once again available for dinner parties. I work now for Feet Up TV on a cable show that's watched by 3 people. Feet Up TV has 4 homegrown programs. Every morning, a woman called Candy Ann sells cosmetics. I split afternoons with a man called DJ Good News who speaks to the dead, usually on behalf of the receptionist or the window cleaner. And that's more or less it. Everything. I've run out of room. I can't see any way forward or back.
Right. My turn. Hi, I'm Jess, and I'm 18 years old, and I'm here because I had some family problems. My older sister Jennifer disappeared a few years ago when I was 15. She borrowed Mum's car and they found it abandoned near a well-known suicide spot down by the coast. Jenna just passed her test days before, so that had been the point of learning to drive. Before I go on, I'll answer the questions everyone always asks, so you're not sitting there wondering and not concentrating on what I'm saying. Yes, I think she's still alive because the whole thing with the car looked phony to me. No, I don't know where she is. What does it feel like having a missing sister? You know how if you lose something valuable like your wallet or a piece of jewelry and you can't concentrate on anything else? It feels like that all the time, every day. After the Jen thing, I think the feeling was I was troubled rather than bad. I mean, shoplifting isn't murder, is it? Everyone goes through a shoplifting phase, don't they? It's right after ponies and boy bands and right before spliff and sex. My dad wonders why I choose to spend my nights getting walloped out of my head and picking fights. But the truth is, I have no choice. And that's what makes you feel like killing yourself. When I try to picture a life that doesn't involve getting sick outside some dodgy club, I can't manage it. I picture nothing at all. I suffer from a failure of imagination. Telling me I can do anything I like is like pulling the plug out of the bath and telling the water it can go wherever it wants. Try it and see what happens. And then I broke up with this guy, Chaz. And he owes me an explanation because he didn't say anything. He just went. But if he gave me an explanation, I'd feel better, I think, because he broke my heart. And I was at the party downstairs looking for him and he wasn't there. So I came up here.
You're going to kill yourself because Chaz didn't turn up at a party? Oh, Jesus.
I never said that.
Okay, so you're up here because you're owed an explanation then, is that it?
You're trying to make me sound stupid. And that's not fair because we can all do that to one another. Like, oh, boo-hoo, they won't let me on breakfast telly anymore. And oh, boo-hoo, my son's a vegetable. And okay, well, you can't make Maureen sound stupid, but that wasn't what I said. I said an explanation might stop me. I didn't say it was why I was up here in the first place. You see, we could handcuff you to those railings and that would stop you. But you're not up here because no one's handcuffed you to railings, are you?
I suppose if one roodled around long enough in that rubbish-strewn teenage bedroom from your mind, that would make sense.
I can see you want to find Chaz. Where is he?
I don't know. Some party or another.
Well, why don't you go looking for him instead of fucking around up here? Sorry, Maureen.
Yeah, I've run out of energy and hope. I see you smile. You remember someone who broke your heart and you think to yourself, oh, yes, I can remember how that feels. But you can't, you smug old git. You might remember feeling sort of pleasantly sad. You might remember walking along the embankment on your own, wrapped in a winter coat, feeling lonely and brave. But do you remember how with every mouthful of food, it felt like you were biting into your own stomach? Do you remember carving his initials in your arm with a kitchen knife? Do you remember standing too close to the edge of an underground platform? No. Well, then stick your smile up your saggy old ass.
There was no need to lie. I was just going to tell him about my old band, Big Yellow. Me and Eddie started the band in high school, and we wrote together, and we were like brothers, right up until the day that we weren't like that anymore. Billy was the drummer, John was the bassist. Shit. You could care less, right? All you really need to know is this. When Big Yellow played live, it was like some kind of Pentecostal service. We saved souls. Pure joy. Felt like surfing or whatever. You could ride those chords like waves. I had that feeling maybe 100 times a year, And not many people get it even once in their lives. And that's what I had to give up, man. The ability to create that routinely as part of my working day. Those shows were my reason for living. And I now know this is not a figure of speech. I guess I felt a little queasy listening to the other guys because their reasons for being up there seemed pretty solid. Jesus, everyone understood why Maureen's life wasn't worth living. Sure, Martin had kind of dug his own grave, but even so. And Jess was very unhappy and very nuts. So it wasn't like people were being competitive exactly, but there was a certain amount of, I don't know what you'd call it, marking our territory. I was going to be the shame and humiliation guy. But my shame and humiliation was beginning to look a little pale compared to Martin's. I'd been dumped by a girl, and my band wasn't going anywhere. Big fucking deal. Okay, I'm JJ, and I'm...
What's that stand for?
That's my business. Anyway, I'm JJ, and I'm here
I'll find
because...
out what your name is.
How?
I'll come around your house and ransack it until I find something that tells me. Like your passport, your bank book or something. And if I can't find anything, I'll just steal something you love. And I won't give it back till you've coughed up.
Jesus Christ, what is it with you?
I hate not knowing secrets. So, you've forgotten why you want to kill yourself or what?
Of course I haven't forgotten.
Well then fucking spit it out then.
I'm dying. The moment for truth had gone. I wasn't going to get a fair hearing. There were waves of hostility breaking everywhere. See, I never thought I'd run into them again. I was pretty sure that we'd shake hands, wish each other a happy whatever, then either trudge back down the stairs or jump off the fucking roof, depending on the mood, etc. Never occurred to me that this was going to come back and repeat on me like a pickle in a Big Mac.
Yeah, you don't look great. What have you got? AIDS.
I got like this brain thing. It's called CCR, which of course is Creedence Clearwater Revival, one of my all-time favorite bands and a big inspiration to me. I didn't think any of them looked like big Creedence fans. Martin only would have smelled a rat if I told him I was dying of incurable ABBA. It's like cranial corno something.
Is there no cure for that?
They figure it's from drug and alcohol abuse, so it's all my own fucking fault.
You must feel a bit of a Burke then.
I do. If Burke means asshole.
Duh. Yeah. Anyway, you win.
Which confirmed once and for all that a competitive edge had snuck in. Really?
Yeah. Dying. Fuck. That's like, spades. Trumps. You've got trumps, man. How long have you got?
I don't know.
And just like roughly off the top of your head.
All right, shut up, Jess. We've all spoken our piece. Now you're going home.
Like, fuck I am. Why should I?
Because we're going to march you there.
Ooh. I'll go home on one condition. You help me find Chaz first.
All of us?
Yeah. Or I really will kill myself. And I'm too young to do that, you said.
I'm not sure I was right about that, looking back. You're wise beyond your years. I can see that now.
So it's okay if I go over. I don't give a fuck, you know. I could jump or we could look for Chaz. It's the same thing to me.
And that's the whole thing right there, because we believed her. We had no doubts.
It wasn't that we really thought she was suicidal either. It was just that if she wanted to jump off of a building to see what it felt like, then she'd try it.
And then it was just a question of how much you cared.
But you don't need our help. We don't know how to start looking for Chaz. You're the only one who can find him.
Yeah, well, I get weird on my own. I'm confused. That's sort of how I ended up here.
What do you all think?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the roof, and I won't change my mind.
Do you really want to die?
The obvious answer is yes, of course I do. That's why I've climbed all these stairs. That's why I've been telling a boy. Oh my God, a man who can't hear me all about a New Year's Eve party that I made up. But the other answer is no, of course I don't. Please stop me. Please make me into the kind of person who wants to live. Because that's why I'm up here. There isn't quite enough to stop me.
Well, are you prepared to wait until tomorrow night?
Well, what will I tell the people at the home?
Have you got the phone number?
Oh, it's too late to call him.
Oh, there'll be somebody on duty. Give me the number.
I can't read it.
No, give it here. Oh, Christ. Is this your suicide note?
Oh, cool. Read it out. Mine are crap, but I bet hers is worse.
Yours are crap? Meaning there's like, what, hundreds of them?
Yeah, I'm always writing them. What?
Well, I imagine most of us have written just the one.
Well, I keep changing my mind. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a big decision.
Yes, one of the biggest, certainly in the top 10 anyway. And no, I won't be reading this one out. Sorry for ringing so late, but something has come up and Matty will be staying for another day. Thank very much.
So Maureen's okay. That just leaves you, Martin. You want to join in?
Oh, come on. Let's go. Anyway, there's fuck all to do up here, is there?
Apart from the obvious.
Oh, that? Forget it. The moment's gone. I can tell. So we've got to find something to do.
Even if you're right and the moment has passed, why do we have to do anything together? Why don't we all just go home and watch TV?
Because I get weird on my own. I told you.
But why should we care? We didn't know you an hour ago.
So you don't feel like a bond kind of thing because of what we've been through?
Nope.
You will. I can see us still being friends when we're old.
Clearly not a vision shared by all.
Where is this Chaz?
I don't know, some party or another? Is that what it depends on, where he is?
Yes, I'd rather fucking kill myself than go somewhere in fucking South London at fucking 4 in the morning. Sorry, Maureen.
He doesn't know anyone in South London.
Good.
And when he said that, you could tell that instead of killing ourselves, we were all going to come down from the roof and look for Tessa's boyfriend or whatever he was. It wasn't much of a plan, really, but it was the only plan we had.
Oi, give me your mobile and I'll make some calls.
I know what you clever people are thinking. Oh, this guy wasn't serious. He wanted a tabloid photographer to capture his quote-unquote cry for help so he could sign a My Suicide Hell exclusive for The Sun. Well, I'll have you know that I scored something like 21 out of 30 points on Aaron T. Beck's suicide intent scale, which I was pretty pleased with, as you can imagine. And yet, if it hadn't been for the teeming throng up there, I wouldn't be around today. Once we started bumping into each other, there was a collective desire, born mostly out of embarrassment, to shelve the whole idea, at least for the night. Not one of us descended those stairs having come to the conclusion that life was a beautiful and precious thing. But we'd formed a nation, suddenly, in those few hours. I hardly exchanged a word with Maureen, but she understood more about me than my wife had done in the last 5 years of our marriage. Maureen knew I was unhappy, and that meant she knew the most important thing about me. Cindy always professed herself baffled by everything I did or said.
Best guess, he's at a party in Shoreditch.
Well, we walked down the 15 flights of stairs, through the stink of piss, and emerged back onto the street below, where we stood shivering in the cold while waiting for a black cab to show.
It would be all Tessa, Acid Head Pete, the graphic design crew, and that lot.
Ah, that lot. Ooh.
Where you wanna go?
Shoreditch.
30 pounds.
Fuck off.
Shut up. My treat.
Happy New Year. Party?
Do you know Acid Head Pete at all? We're hoping to run into him. Should be jolly.
Why are you such a tosser? How about you, Cabby? You working all night? Are you gonna go have a few somewhere?
Work all the night.
Ugh, oh, bad luck. Does your missus mind about you working all night?
No, she don't care. Not now. Not in the place where she is.
Anyone with any life experience could have figured out that this was a man with a story which was unlikely to get us into the party mood. Anyone with any sense would have stopped right there.
Bad woman, eh?
Not bad. Dead.
Oh.
Yes, bad men kill her. Kill her mother, kill her father.
Oh.
Yes, in my country.
Right.
Here you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friends.
And I'd bet $1 million that our thoughts all contained versions of the same questions. Why hadn't we seen him up there? Would he sneer if we told him our troubles?
I'd rather not come in.
Come on.
Even at 4 a.m, the loft was still packed with my least favorite people. Fucking art students. I mean, Jess had already warned us, but it still came as a shock. All those woolly hats, new tattoos, and plastic shoes. Maureen, meanwhile, was plainly petrified. She stared at the partygoers as if she were looking at Diane Arbus photos projected 50 feet wide on an IMAX screen. You okay? You want a drink?
I'd like a sherry, please, if you can find one.
I'm not sure there's going to be too much sherry around. These guys don't look like sherry drinkers to me.
Where's Jess?
Looking for Chaz.
And then we can go?
Yeah, sure.
Good. I'm not enjoying myself here.
Me either.
Where do you think we'll go next?
I don't know.
But we'll all be together, do you think?
Yeah, that's the deal, right? Till we find this guy. What would it take to change your mind?
About what?
About, wanting to end it all.
I don't know what to say.
If you could make a deal with God kind of thing. He's sitting there, the big guy across the table from you, and he's saying, okay, Maureen, we like you, but we really want you to stay put on Earth. What can we do to persuade you? What can we offer you?
God's asking me personally?
Yeah.
Well, if he was asking me personally, he wouldn't have to offer me anything.
Really?
Yes. If God in his infinite wisdom wanted me to stay on Earth, then how could I ask for anything?
Okay, then, not God.
Who then?
A sort of, I don't know, a sort of cosmic, president or prime minister. Tony Blair. Someone who can get things done. You don't have to do what Tony Blair says without asking for something in return.
Can he cure Matty?
Nope. He can only arrange things.
I'd like a holiday.
God, you're a cheap date. You'd choose to live out the rest of your natural life for a week in Florida. When was the last time you had a vacation?
Just before Matty was born.
And he's how old?
He's 19.
Okay. Well, as your manager, I'm going to be asking the big guy for one vacation a year. Maybe two.
He can't do that.
Trust me. I know the market. Cosmic Tony won't blink an eye. Come on. What else?
I couldn't possibly ask for anything else.
You're not going to get another appointment with Cosmic Tony. You got one shot.
A job.
You want a job?
Yes, of course. I used to work before Matty was born. I had a job in an office stationer's. I liked it. I liked all the different pens and papers and envelopes, and I liked my boss. I haven't worked since.
Okay, come on.
Maybe a bit of a social life. The church has quizzes sometimes, like pub quizzes, but not in the pub. I'd like to have a go at one of those.
Yep, we can allow you a quiz.
I was finding the conversation hard. I couldn't really think of anything very much to say, and that annoyed me. And it made me feel afraid, in a strange sort of way. It was like finding a door that you'd never seen before in your own home. Would you want to know what was behind it? What's wrong?
He told me that Chaz was here and gone, and he left with some girl he met at the party. We should all go round her house.
Not a good idea.
It's okay. I know her. I mean, there's probably been some sort of misunderstanding. She probably didn't know about me and Chaz.
What if she did know?
Well, in that case, I couldn't let it go, could I? I mean, I wouldn't kill her. I'm not that mad, but I would have to hurt her.
When Frank broke off our engagement, I didn't think that I'd ever get over it. I didn't make it easy for him either. I told people that Frank was sick in the head or that he was a drunk and he'd hit me. None of that was true. Frank was a sweet man whose crime was that he didn't love me quite enough. Were you engaged?
Engaged? What is this? Pride and fucking Prejudice? Oh, Mr. Arsey Darcy, might I fright my troth?
People still do get engaged. It's not a stupid question.
Which of people get engaged?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, but which living people? I'm not interested in people with like shoes and raincoats or whatever.
Bitch! Idiot! What did Maureen ever do to you?
Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm very sorry, sir.
What's this now?
I'm just gonna stop being me. No one will ever see the old me again. I wouldn't want you all to get sick of me. I really need that not to happen anymore. Chaz got sick of me. The business in the cinema might have been the final straw. Chaz was making a point that I wasn't really mature enough to be a mother. And I can see now that by yelling my head off halfway through 50 Shades Freed, I sort of proved it for him.
I feel faint.
I took Maureen out onto a little roof terrace that looked like it never got the sun at any time of the day or year. But there was a picnic table and one of those little grills that to me represent the triumph of hope over circumstance, seeing as in England, all you can do is peer at them out the window through the pissing rain.
It's coming from the shadows next to the grill. There's a man back there.
Excuse me?
You want to talk to us, you come here.
I can't come into the light.
What would happen if you did?
A nutter might try and kill me.
There's only Maureen and me out here.
This nutter's everywhere.
How can I help you?
Listen, can you check the party and see if the nutter's gone?
What does he look like?
She. I know, but she's really scary. A mate saw her first and told me to hide out here till she'd gone. I went out with her once. Not like once upon a time, just once. But I stopped because she's off her head and I can't...
You're Jazz, aren't you?
How did you know that?
I'm a friend of Jess's.
Oh, shit! Oh, fuck! I'm sorry. Will you help me?
No. I want you to come and talk to her. She's had like a rough evening and maybe a little chat would help calm her down.
When it comes to calming Jess down, elephant tranquilizers would be more useful than a little chat. You know I haven't had sex since the night we went out, don't you?
I didn't know that, Chaz, no. Where would I have read that?
I've been too scared. I can't make that mistake again. I can't have another woman shout at me in the cinema. I don't mind, never having sex again. It's better that way. I'm 22. I mean, by the time you're 60, you don't really feel like it anyway, right? So we're only talking 40 years. Less. I can live with that. Women are fucking maniacs, man.
You don't want to think shit like that, man. You've just had some bad luck. I said this because I knew it was the right thing to say, not because my experiences told me any different. Listen, if you came and had a little chat, what's the worst that could happen?
She's tried to kill me twice, and she got me arrested once. I'm banned from 3 pubs, 2 galleries, and a cinema.
Okay. So you're saying the worst that could happen is you die a painful and violent death. And I say to you, my friend, that it's better to die like a man than hide underneath grills like a mouse.
I'd try to kill you if I were Jess.
There you go. You're in trouble wherever you look.
Who the fuck's this now?
I'm Maureen. Why should you get away with it?
Get away with what? I didn't do anything.
I thought you said that you had sex with her. Or maybe you didn't say that in so many words, but you said that you hadn't had sex since, so I'm thinking that you slept with her.
Well, we had sex that once, but I didn't know she was a fucking maniac then, did I?
So once you found out that the poor girl is confused and vulnerable, that's when you ran away?
I had to run away. She was chasing me with a knife half the time.
And why was she chasing you?
What is this? Why is it any of your business?
I don't like to see people upset.
What about me? I'm upset.
You have to talk to her.
Fuck off.
Here's the thing about Maureen. She had a lot more guts than I had. When Maddie came along, she stuck around, never to live the life she had planned for herself. She waited for 20 years to see what she'd be offered as a replacement, and she was offered nothing at all. There was a lot of feeling in that slap.
Of course I'm angry. I don't know why I ever pretend I'm not. The church has something to do with it, I suppose, and maybe my age, because we are taught not to grumble, aren't we? But some days, most days, I want to scream and shout and break things. Oh, there's anger, right enough. You can't be stuck with a life like this one and not get angry. But I had never hit anyone before, not in the whole of my life. Frank is Mattie's father. I only ever had intercourse with one man, and only had intercourse with that one man once. What are the chances, eh? Of having intercourse only the once and ending up with a child who can't walk or talk or even recognize me? Well, fairness doesn't really have much to do with it, does it? And once you have a child like Mattie, you can't help but feel, well, that's it. That's all my bad luck. A whole lifetime's worth in one big bundle. But I'm not sure that luck works like that. Having Mattie wouldn't stop me from getting breast cancer or from being mugged. And anyway, I'm Catholic. So I don't believe in luck as much as I believe in punishment. Oh, for a long time, I was even grateful. Because it felt to me as though I were going to be able to redeem myself here on earth, and there'd be no reckoning to be made afterwards, but now I'm not so sure. If the price you have to pay for a sin is so high that you end up wanting to kill yourself and committing an even worse sin, then someone's got his sums wrong. Someone's overcharging.
I'm sorry.
For what?
I'm not sure. Whatever.
I had a boyfriend like you once. It hurts. It's a horrible thing to do, to have intercourse with someone and then just disappear.
I can see that now.
Can you?
I think so.
You can't see anything from down there. Why don't you get up?
I don't really want to be slapped again. Physical bravery is overrated.
You know, Chaz, I respect your honesty, man. You won't slap him again, will you, Maureen?
No.
Not much of a life hiding underneath people's grills, is it?
No, but I don't really see the alternatives.
How's about talking to Jess?
I'd rather live out here all the time. Seriously, I'm already thinking of relocating, you know.
What, to someone else's backyard?
No, to Manchester.
Listen, I know she's scary. That's why you should talk to her now. With us around. We can, mediate. Wouldn't you rather do that than move cities?
But what is there to say?
Maybe we can work something out together.
Like what?
I know for a fact that she'd marry you if you asked her.
No, you see, that's just it.
I was just kidding around, Chaz. Lighten up, man.
These aren't like lightening up times. These are dark times.
Oh, dark times indeed. What with Jess and moving to Manchester and living under a grill and everything. So what can you tell her that's going to get you out of this mess?
Hi, Jess.
Why wouldn't you talk to me?
Yeah, right. I knew you'd want to know that. And I've been thinking about it very hard, actually, because, I'm not happy about it. It's weak. It's a weakness in me.
Oh, don't overdo it, man.
There seemed no attempt upon anyone's part to pretend that this was going to bear any resemblance to a real conversation.
No. Right. So, first of all, I should say sorry, and it won't happen again. And second of all, I find you very attractive and stimulating company. And, well, it's not me, it's you. Sorry, it's not you, it's me. Martin Sharp? Off the breakfast telly. Oi, Sharpie! People must say that to you all the time.
What?
Oi, Sharpie and all that.
Well, yes, they do.
Bad luck, though. Of all the people on TV, you end up looking like that wanker.
Well, that's life.
It's him.
How the fuck do you know him?
From the roof of Topper's house. We was gonna jump off.
Oh, because that girl you shagged and your wife and kids throwing you out and everything.
Why don't you ask Jess why she was going to jump? Isn't that more relevant?
Shut up! That's private!
Oh, and my stuff isn't.
Not anymore. Everyone knows about it.
What's Penny Chambers like in real life?
Is that what we came here to talk about, Chaz?
No. Right, sorry. It's just a bit distracting having someone from the telly stand in there.
Do you want me to leave?
No, I want you here.
I wouldn't have thought you'd be his type. Too old. Plus, he's a cunt. Oh. Right, it's like that, is it?
And suddenly, yes, it was exactly like that. We were the Topper's House 4, and we were all the more serious in every way.
No. Oh, you're the tosser. God, none of this has anything to do with you. Fuck off, out of my sight.
And that was the end of Chaz.
Well, the whole Jess and Chaz thing was ludicrous, of course. A waste of time and energy, a banal little sideshow. But it absorbed us and got us down off the roof, so it had value.
When you're really sad, like Topper's house sad, you only want to be with other people who are sad. I didn't know that until I suddenly realized it by looking into Chaz's face. There was nothing in it. It was just the face of a boy who'd never done anything. It was his eyes that gave him away. I mean, Chaz could have told me anything, that he loved me or hated me or that he'd been possessed by aliens, and it wouldn't have made any difference. I was still owed an explanation. But so what? It wasn't going to make me any happier. It's like scratching when you have the chicken pox. You think that would help, but the itch just moves over. My itch suddenly felt miles away, and I couldn't have reached it with the longest arms in the world. Oi! Sorry that little shitbag called you names.
It's not your fault.
Of course it is. If you hadn't met me, you wouldn't have had to experience the trauma of being called a cunt.
Well, I get called that a lot. Nobody likes me.
That's weird. You're famous. How can you be famous if nobody likes you? So, who's gaff? Oh, I bet yours is tasty, Martin. I bet you got jacuzzis and all sorts.
Oh, no, we can't go there.
What have you got to hide?
Nothing, Okay. Yeah. Let's go to mine. Why not?
And so we did.
Breakfast and daylight were still a couple of hours away, so it felt to me like I had no real choice but to go back to Martin's. I still didn't trust myself to spend too much time on my own. Martin lived in a little villagey part of Islington, but I couldn't have afforded to live here.
Listen.
Okay. I don't hear anything.
No, I didn't mean that sort of listen. I meant, listen, I'm going to tell you something.
Go on then, spit it out.
It's very late, so just be respectful of the neighbors.
That's it.
No, there'll probably be someone in there.
In your flat?
Yes.
Who?
Well, I don't know what you'd call her. My date. Whatever.
You had a date for the evening?
Yes, what of it?
Nothing. Just
What kind of date ends up with you sitting on the fucking ledge of a tower block?
An unsuccessful one.
Where have you been?
Just out. Met some.
Met some who?
People.
And that's why you left in the middle of the evening?
Well, no, I didn't know I was going to run into this crowd when I left.
And which crowd are they?
Who? Your Penny Chambers!
she probably knew that already.
Oh, Penny Chambers! Rise and shine with Penny and Martin.
The English regent, Ryan Seacrest, had been nailing the English Kelly Ripa and then disappeared to kill himself. Pretty fucking hilarious, you have to admit.
Are you two going out?
You'd better ask him. He's the one who vanished in the middle of the dinner party.
Are you two going out?
Answer the question. I'm interested.
This isn't really the time to talk about it.
So there's clearly some doubt, which is news to me.
It's complicated. You knew that.
No.
Well, you knew I wasn't happy.
Yes, I knew you weren't happy, but I didn't know you were unhappy about me.
Can we talk later, in private?
And when will we be in private?
Soon, but probably not immediately.
Right. And what do we talk about in the meantime, with your three friends here? I think you should call Tom and Christine.
Oh, yes, I will, tomorrow.
They must think you're so rude.
Who are Tom and Christine? Are they the people you were having dinner with?
Yes.
What did you tell them?
He told them he was going to the toilet.
Oh, man.
How dare you find it funny.
I'm sorry. And really, I know it's not funny in any way. We need a drink. Would you mind if they stayed for one? Sorry, I haven't introduced you. Penny, this is JJ, Maureen, and Jess.
But you haven't told me who they are.
As in...
As in, how do you know them and where did you meet them?
Maureen, I know from... where did we meet Maureen? First of all... well, it's a long time now, isn't it? We'll remember in a minute. And JJ used to be part of the old Channel 5 crowd, and Jess is his girlfriend.
And where were they all tonight?
They're not deaf, you know, or idiots. They're not deaf idiots.
Where were you all tonight?
At like a party.
Where?
In Shoreditch?
Whose?
Whose was it, Jess?
And why did you want to go at 11:30 on New Year's Eve in the middle of the evening without me?
I can't explain. I'm afraid you'd find the answer hurtful and upsetting.
You're seeing someone else, aren't you, you fucking bastard!
Seeing someone else how on earth could that explain any of this? If I had walked in with Lady Gaga and Rudy Giuliani, you still would have concluded that they somehow helped me to have sex with someone else. I'm sorry. Penny, it's a long story.
We're all just on the roof of Topper's house. We was gonna throw ourselves off.
Thus making the long story considerably shorter, and to be fair, leaving out very few of the salient points. I know it's a terrible thing finding out that your lover is so unhappy he wants to die. I'm sorry. Will you all excuse us for a moment? Help yourself to drinks.
Do you have any sherry?
No, but how about a whiskey and coke?
At least that makes more sense.
What?
You leaving the party to go up there.
I'm sorry.
I'm the one who's failed, aren't I?
Oh, I think my failures preceded yours, which, by the way, don't amount to anything at all. I mean, there weren't any failures. You've been fantastic to me.
How do you feel today?
Well, I haven't thought about killing myself once all morning, if that's what you mean.
Will you talk to me before you do?
About all that?
Yes, about all that.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like something that talking can fix.
Oh, I know I can't fix it. I just don't want to read about it in the papers.
You can do better than this, Penny. Better than me.
I don't want to.
So you don't disagree with the premise?
Oh, I've got enough self-respect to think that there might be a man out there somewhere who'd rather spend New Year's Eve with me than leap to his death. Yes.
So why don't you try and find him?
Would you care one way or the other?
Well, caring about stuff like that, it's not where I'm at now, is it?
Well, that's honest.
Is it? I would have thought it merely self-evident.
So, what do you want me to do?
Well, I'm not sure there's much that you can do.
Call me Lisa?
Yes, of course.
Oh, now what? We could play a game.
Oh, fuck off.
Oh, miserable bastard.
Yes, exactly. Duh, as you would say. I thought you would have worked that all out by now.
What? Still?
Yes, still. Even after all the fun we've had tonight, what would you say has changed in the last few hours? Have I still been to prison? Oh, I believe I have. Did I sleep with a 15-year-old? Regrettably, not much has seemed to have changed on that score. Is my career still in pieces? Am I still estranged from my children? Unhappily, yes and yes. Oh, despite attending a party with your amusing friends in Shoreditch and being called a cunt, ooh, what kind of malcontent must I be, eh?
Yeah, I thought we cheered each other up.
Really? Is that truly what you thought?
Well, you've all made me feel better.
Well, your depression was clearly more amenable than ours. You're very lucky. Unfortunately, JJ is still going to die. Maureen still has a profoundly disabled son, and my life is still a complete and utter fucking shambles! To be honest with you, Jess, I don't see how a couple of drinks and a game of Monopoly are going to help. Ooh, fancy a game, JJ? Will that help the old CCR? Or not really?
I guess not.
Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry. I'm not used to drinking. I was too nervous to eat much of anything all day, and there didn't seem to be an awful lot of a point to it anyway. I'd like one of my peppermints, please. I've got one in my handbag.
Where's your handbag?
Oh, it's on the roof. In the corner, right by the hole Martin made in the fence. It's only got my keys and the peppermints and a couple of pound coins in it.
Well, we can find you a mint if that's what you're worried about.
Oh, I've got some chewing gum.
I've got a bridge that's a bit loose and I didn't bother getting it fixed because...
So we'll find you a mint.
Thank you. What am I going to do about the bag?
Well, the thing is, do you need it?
Oh.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I mean, if you don't know whether you're going to need it, just say so, because, you know, we wouldn't want to rush you. It's a big decision. But if you know for sure you won't be needing it, it's best to say so now. Save us a trip, see?
Well, I wouldn't ask you all to come with me.
We'd want to, wouldn't we?
Well, I hadn't really... I don't know. I was going to put off thinking about it for a few hours.
Okay, fair enough. So let's go back.
Do you mind?
Well, no, not at all. It would be silly to kill yourself just because you didn't have your handbag.
When we got to Topper's house, the bag was right where I'd left it.
It wasn't until we got up there that we could see we'd made it through to dawn.
It was a proper dawn, too, with a sun and a blue sky.
It's not scary anymore.
It looks beautiful. I can't remember the last time that I could see so much. St. Paul's, the little Ferris wheel down by the river.
There were all those fireworks and people walking around. And we were squeezed up here because there was nowhere else for us to go. And now there's nothing down there to feel excluded again. It's just a big city.
That's why New Year's Eve is such a popular night for suicides.
When's the next one?
December 31st.
The next popular night.
Oh, that would be Valentine's Day.
What's that? 6 weeks? So, let's give it another 6 weeks then. What about that? I bet we'll all feel terrible on Valentine's Day.
JJ, do you know how you'll be feeling in 6 weeks?
How did I know how I'd be feeling? This disease was brand new. No one could predict its course, not even me, and I invented it.
So, are we going to all meet again before the 6 weeks is up?
I'm sorry, but when did we become we? Why do we even have to meet in 6 weeks? Why can't we just kill ourselves whenever and wherever we want?
No one's stopping you. Listen, if you go home now and put your head in the gas oven, what am I going to do about it?
Well, exactly. So the purpose of this exercise is...
I'm asking, aren't I? Because if we're a gang, then we all try and live by the rules. And there's only one rule anyway. We don't kill ourselves for 6 weeks. And if we're not a gang, then, whatever. So, are we a gang? Or not a gang?
Not a gang. We should all just shake hands, thank one another for a most instructive evening, and then just go our separate ways.
And die.
Possibly.
And that's what you want.
Well, I'll grant you it's not a long-held ambition, but I'm not giving any secrets away when I say that it's come to look more attractive recently. And anyway, why do you care?
You know those films where the people fight at the top of the Empire State Building? There's always that one bit where the baddie slips off and the hero tries to save him, but the sleeve of his jacket tears and you hear him all the way down like, no! That's what I want to do.
You want to watch me plunge to my doom?
I'd like to know that I made the effort. I want to show people the torn sleeve.
I'd find it easier if we all saw each other on a regular basis. All of us. No one really knows how I feel about anything apart from you three. And Matty. I tell Matty.
For Christ's sake.
It's only 6 weeks. We'll throw you off the top ourselves on Valentine's if you like.
We'll all live to regret it. Oh, for fuck's sake, all right.
I'm not going on beyond the 6 weeks, as long as we know that from the start.
Noted.
Excellent. So, it's a deal.
Yes.
Deal.
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 It's John Julius, my name. After John Julius Norwich, some lord on the BBC my dad used to listen to on his shortwave radio. And we all went out for breakfast.
We couldn't think of anything to say to one another, but we didn't seem to mind much.
Most people have a rope that ties them to someone. Maureen's rope ties her to Matty. It's about 6 inches long and it's killing her. I think AJ's is tied to that bloke Eddie, the one he was in the band with. Martin's rope ties him to his daughters. And like a stupid dog, he thinks it isn't there. He goes running off somewhere in a nightclub, up a building, whatever, and suddenly the rope pulls him up short And he acts surprised. And then he does the same thing the next day. And I'm learning that I'm tied to Jen and not to mom and dad and home where the rope should be. But Jen isn't solid like a house. She's floating, blowing around. No one knows where she is. Oh, she's sort of useless, really. Isn't she?
I once interviewed a man who survived after jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. He said that 2 seconds after jumping, he realized that there was nothing in his life he couldn't deal with, no problem he couldn't solve. Apart from the problem he'd just given himself by jumping off the bridge. I don't know why I didn't tell the others about that. You'd think it might be relevant information. It seemed like something that might be more appropriate later, when the story was over. If it ever was.